What a nice place to have a cup of coffee.
Isn't that great? I love this place, but you know I love Rio. But this is
what
Rio.
a beautiful, we're in the botanical gardens, and we're in Parque Lage, which I have learned is a palace built by a great industrialist in the 1920s, Enrique Lage, for his beloved wife, who was apparently a famous opera singer, Gabriella Bensansoni. And what's fun is apparently she sang her arias up in the balcony here for the soirees in this place. We're not here for a soiree, we're here for a cup of coffee, but what a...
We can imagine.
Yeah, what a beautiful place to be. And what a good chance to talk about all your experiences in Rio. You've lived here, you've worked here, you know Brazil, and of course all of South America. You've been a UN leader. How is it going in sustainable development? This has been the challenge you've been pursuing for decades.
Well, I think, as you said, it's very exciting to be here right now in Brazil and in Rio. We had the election of President Lula. And I think
that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. And as you know, it's a big deal certainly for Brazil, but for Latin America and for the world. And I always feel that Brazil has a role to play in the world. It's a country that has the dimensions and the possibilities of work on the road. So I think this is an exciting moment for Brazil. And the inaugurations was exciting, the people are excited, but the challenges, as you know, are significant. Now, Brazil, in the constitution, in the new constitution, they have a provision which is to promote regional cooperation and integration. It's embedded in their constitution. And I have the feeling that President Lula will pursue that. And the region needs that leadership right now. One
of the things that we heard actually together recently from one of the diplomats is that Brazil has 10 neighboring countries. Pretty complicated, and apparently the third most neighbors in the world, if I understood correctly, just behind China and Russia. So they are surrounded by neighbors, and he was explaining how crucial, therefore, regional cooperation is. But especially when you have a resource, a fundamental resource for humanity of the Amazon. And the Amazon has 8 countries or 9 countries.
8 countries in a territory.
8 countries in the territory of French Guiana.
Exactly.
Exactly. So you've been working on that challenge. What is the Amazon challenge? I mean, what's happening right now? What can be done about it?
Well, I think there are a number of things that are important to recognize too. First of all, I think, and it's something that is very embedded in the whole spirit of the Amazon Cooperation Treaty. These are 8 sovereign countries that own one of the most important ecosystems in the world that provides significant national, regional services, but also global services.
Yeah. Everything locally in agriculture, in all the patterns of rainfall, the hydrologic cycle depends on a stable and intact Amazon.
Exactly. But I do also think it's important to recognize that we all know about the challenges, but we also have to recognize that more than 50% of the Amazon is under conservation. It's a unique thing. Many, as you know, many countries did not do that. Not Europe, not United States. So this is a significant asset that they already did, and there is a commitment. There has been a commitment over decades. So there is something that we build up. Now, the issue...
And in fact, just to say, it's interesting, we're on the Atlantic coast in Rio, and there is a great Atlantic rainforest, but that was almost completely devastated because this is where the population concentration was. And by some estimates, the original Atlantic rainforest lost something like 85% of the vegetative cover of the rainforest. The Amazon, thank goodness, has not experienced that. The heavy populations were not there, but starting already in the resource booms of the early 20th century, the rubber boom, and then colonization of the Amazon afterwards, millions and millions of people moved in, and the deforestation started, of course, much behind what happened here, but still quite dangerous. So this is the context.
This is the context. This is a major threat, but And I do think, however, that there is also a tremendous awareness in the population here in Brazil. They made a survey, a poll, and I don't remember exactly the figures, but it was over 70% they care about the Amazon.
Yeah.
And that's important.
That's crucial.
That's crucial.
And they have to care about it for all of humanity also, because this is a global treasure. And also the amount of carbon in the forest, if that were released into the atmosphere, that's another disaster from the point of view of
forget
global
about
climate
1.5.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very critical. But at the same time, I think there are, and I think talking again about Brazil, we have the Amazon, which is shared by 8 countries and a territory, but we also have the Pantanal. And the Pantanal is shared by 3 countries.
What is the Pantanal exactly?
The Pantanal is the largest wetland in the world. Mm-hmm. So it's as significant. People don't know as much, but it's as significant.
So we know in the United States about the Everglades as a wetland that's also under threat, but this is a huge, huge wetland.
It's the largest wetland in the world, and it also provides services to all these countries. That not only the 3 countries, but it goes down to the south, Argentina, and all that. So that is another significant area that needs to be protected and managed with the neighbors, because it's 3 countries that are there, and Bolivia is in one part, and Paraguay has the largest share, and Brazil, obviously. So Brazil shares these vast resources with the neighbors, and I think this is important that Brazil cooperates and collaborates. And there is a commitment. That's why they created the Amazon Treaty of Cooperation. It was visionary of Ambassador Recupero, who created that and mobilized that. Now President Lula is going to convene a summit of presidents of the Amazon in the first semester of this year. Critical, because a lot of the things have to be done together, including the negotiations in the climate change issues and in the biodiversity issues, and in the significant financing that is required to preserve this forest.
And you were at the COP27, which was the climate meeting that took place in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh, at the end of 2022. President Lula, who was president 15 years ago, and now has come back to office, came to that meeting after winning the election, but not yet president. But you said that was extraordinary when he showed up.
It was extraordinary because, there were not a lot of good news going on climate, as you know. And the negotiators have been struggling to first of all, to secure the commitment to the reduction of emissions. Second, to get the financing that the developed countries had committed, and so on. So there was a struggle. But the fact that he arrived, it was a breath of fresh air, because he's a leader, and we need leaders in the world. He's a leader of Brazil, but we need enlightened leaders in the world. We have the Pope, but we don't have that many.
Yeah.
So the excitement on the young people, on the civil society, and on the negotiators was amazing. So when he addressed, because he couldn't address formally the meeting because he
wasn't yet president.
He hadn't been
inaugurated.
And there was a different Brazilian delegation that is running, but they were very, very, very good. Also, the diplomats there. But he spoke right after in the plenary at 6:05.
Okay.
So everybody was there.
Official enough. And everybody waiting for him.
Everybody waiting for him. And the excitement was amazing, and people were singing, ole, ole, ola, is he. So you have no idea, the whole place was happy. Yeah. And everybody was happy because there is a sense of possibility. There's a sense that there was something that could happen. And as you know, Brazil is well known in the world.
And it's very interesting. When I think of Lula, I've met him on many occasions, and he always makes me smile.
Yes.
Because he's incredibly charming and a wonderful person. And on the T-shirts on the day of the inauguration in Rio, in Brasilia, when we were watching the crowds of excitement, the T-shirt said, "Happiness returns to Brazil."
Yes.
So happiness is a term you associate with Lula. And in COP27, he said that Brazil was going to help lead the way under his administration.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there's a definite commitment. His appointments, as you know, are very good in that sense. So we will have there's going to be a significant leadership of Brazil, I think, in this, and it's good for our Amazon, it's good for the Pantanal, it's good for the region. And it's a region that needs to cooperate. You led the COVID-19 Commission, and you saw what little cooperation was in the whole dealing with the pandemic. It was sad that they couldn't even procure vaccines together like Africa did. So we really need to strengthen cooperation. It's a region that should be cooperating. We speak the same languages. We have the same cultural background. So I think I'm inspired that probably we'll go back, like they said.
And one of the things that he's talking about, which you're very much involved in, is the global cooperation of the rainforest regions of the world. What's the idea there?
Well, I think it's critical because we have this belt, these tropical rainforests, which are
right around the equator.
Right around the equator.
Of course, the Amazon in the Americas, and in Africa, you have the whole Congo Basin. And in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and so forth.
Yes, and he has convened, as he said, that he would like, he already spoke with the presidents on those three, particularly on three of the countries, but he wants to promote that dialogue. And I think it's excellent. It's absolutely excellent. It's very needed. Brazil has a lot to contribute. The Amazon has a lot to contribute. Congo has some ideas too that they could contribute, but that will facilitate an exchange of lessons because there is not a model of sustainable development in the tropics. Mm-hmm. So if we start with some good things in the Amazon, and Congo could follow, Indonesia could follow, some things that are good practice in Congo and Indonesia could inform work in the Amazon, because they really inventing, discovering this sustainable development in the tropical forest.
And all three of these great rainforest regions are under a lot of stress, actually.
Yes.
So all of them, for different reasons, to an extent, are experiencing deforestation. They're all critical for the global climate. They're all critical for their regional economies.
Right.
And so the idea that they see themselves as part of one unified equatorial tropical rainforest biome of the world is an amazing possibility.
It's an amazing possibility, and it's an amazing possibility to really, because the forests need to be conserved, and there is a critical issue up front, but at the same time they have to be engines of sustainable growth for the countries.
Yep.
And for that you need to invest in innovation, in technologies, and I think this is critical, and that's why the science panel of the Amazon that you convene, and then I'm privileged to coordinate, is critical, because we need to mobilize science. We need to mobilize innovation, and also the President Lula has committed to that.
And one thing we found, because we knew a few of the scientists here, some absolute world-leading scientists, is the richness of the science in the Amazon basin, of the scientists here.
Yeah.
Fantastic people,
fantastic.
Hundreds that have been well-trained and are great cutting-edge researchers.
Absolutely.
And it just is worth us thinking for a moment. Brazil has invested in that part, in the science, for decades. And it really pays off.
Totally.
It doesn't, you can't create it overnight.
No.
So what did Brazil do to make it so that when we said, maybe let's bring the scientists together, they were there with these incredible insights?
Well, they actually was knocking the door, remember? They were saying, we need to do something.
Yes.
And the thing is that Brazil invested in a program, a large-scale program in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. NASA contributed to that too. And it was a massive effort to train scientists, because there was not enough, there is still not enough knowledge on the Amazon. So they've been trained. Carlos Nobre, who's our chair on the panel, was also the chair of that initiative. And they
What a wonderful person and a great scientist.
Great scientist.
And he inspires a whole generation of
it's fantastic.
younger
and they
scientists
trained
also.
Over 1,000 PhDs.
Amazing.
And this is an amazing, and it shows, because the publications, they're leading, and of course they're in the universities, so they're training more people. And actually, there was a paper in Nature that I read and inspired me for the Congo panel, is that a number of scientists, together with the ministers, including Minister White from Gabon, who is also a scientist, published an article saying that there has to be a similar investment like the LBA in Brazil for the Congo.
Yeah.
So that will be great, because they're going to pursue that, and we already had a meeting of some of the scientists that were in the LBA they're members of the panel to talk with the Congo Basin scientists. So our panel of the Congo will be the enabling environment so the countries can do this massive investment. And there are some countries that are interested in financing that.
I think it's a fabulous initiative. And just to close, I want to underscore the word investment in all of this. If you want sustainable development, healthy society, and educated population, infrastructure, it's all about looking ahead. And here we have this wonderful project of building the scientific community in the Amazon basin, but it goes back 40 years. It was an investment.
It was an
investment. And the investment really pays off.
Yeah.
And you don't see it necessarily in a year or 2 years, but you see it in a transformation of the ability of this region not only to address its critical challenges right now, but really to take a leadership role globally.
And also is the leadership of Latin America. And you always say that Latin America invests very little on science,
needs to invest more.
But again, you know, I think the leadership on the Amazon, and there are other Latin American countries, could pull also the region for investment on this. And this is critical. Is it critical to invest in education, science, and innovation?
Well, you know, when you're in such a beautiful place and in the Atlantic rainforest and seeing the biodiversity and the beauty of Guanabara Bay and of Rio, you know we've got a lot of reason to protect the planet. So great to be with you, Emma. Thank you.
Jeff,
thanks
and
for all that you're
enjoy the rest of stay
doing.
in Brazil.
It's always a joy. So
thank you.
cheers.
Cheers. With a good coffee.